And we are live on YouTube.
What up, fam?
Okay, so to everybody out there, hello.
Hola.
Konnichiwa.
Salaam.
Bonjour.
Ciao.
And together now,
Namaste.
Peace to all. This is the Pink Elephant in the Room conversation. And what we will be discussing for today is the mastery of your emotions.
So get excited.
Right? And if you feel this resonates with you, don't hesitate to leave any hearts. Don't hesitate to leave any likes on YouTube. And for both people on YouTube and Periscope, please comment, because we want you to add on to this conversation. We want a discussion going about who you are, and because this isn't just about us talking, we are all one. Mm-hmm. So let us go ahead and start with this. So how do you feel people should even go about mastery or understand getting to that point? Like, because I know for me personally, when I was younger, I was a very emotional child. And because of that, it took me a lot more to understand it, because I was, what do you call it? What's the word? There's a name for it, where you're highly sensitive to other people's emotions.
An empath?
Yes, an empath. There we go. I'm an empath, so I was very sensitive to other people's emotions and everything. So certain things would bother me instantly because of it. It's a lot different now. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I still have to train every day to grow that. But how do you personally feel people should go about doing that? Or being more of that for themselves?
Emotional mastery is extremely important. I feel really. You have to get a solid grip on, first, what emotions you feel on a daily basis, but just like the whole process it could be as easy as you want it to be, honestly. And if you really listen to the thoughts and the emotions that you're feeling within you, then you can shift them, because like our modalities, our five modalities, our five senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and did I say hearing? I don't think I said hearing. Seeing, hearing, tasting, feeling, touching, kinesthetic, and then eating.
Smelling.
Smelling. But so those five is how we mainly receive our emotion or that information. Our unconscious mind gets about 2.3 billion billion bits of information every single day. Your unconscious mind picks up everything, every little tiny thing. But our conscious mind, this is the funny part, this is a catch, so listen. Our conscious mind only gets 123 bits. So that's like 0.001% of like billion. And so our unconscious mind is the one that feels those emotions. And a lot of times our unconscious mind is a big majority of the time controlling us. And so instead of letting our unconscious mind, which is essentially our emotions, control us, we need to be the ones in control of controlling our unconscious mind, i.e. our emotions. And I mean, it's, like I said, it could be as easy as you want it to be, or as hard as you want it to be.
It's honestly a choice, huh?
Yes, it is a choice. And there's all kinds of ways you could do it. Meditation, honestly, is one of the ways.
Don't complicate meditate.
Don't complicate meditate. And it's I mean, that's the way I've done it. Many people have all kinds of practices, all kinds of disciplines, but mainly it is getting committed or doing some kind of practice, some kind of thing that just moves your mind from the busyness right here to the tranquility and peace over here. And I'll save it for later, but mantras. Just think about mantra.
I think the other thing for people to understand emotional mastery is honestly taking time to really get to know yourself, because I mean, I see commercials about this, how we're so busy doing everything else that we don't really take time to stay still and get to know us.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my experience, I had to go to school, I had to go to work, I had to go do this, I had to go do that. I had so many things I had to do that I never really took the time for myself to actually sit down and say, why don't you really get to know who you really are as a person? And I think also some people honestly don't want to get to know themselves because of the fact of what they're terrified they're gonna see. We haven't heard from you, so what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was actually want to touch on that and on what you're talking about, like empaths, because I know there's a lot of empaths out there like these days. Because I know I've seen a lot of people, especially like kids in high school and things like that adopt the emotions of like their friends or like their peers and everything. For example, if someone's upsetting their friend, they tend to get upset with them and try to make their problem theirs. And I just want to touch on that a little bit and really like people really need to know and really get in touch to who they are, because you need to not adopt other people's problems in order to help them. For example, if your friend is having like troubles and issues and things like that, you don't have to adopt your emotions and go ahead and feel those things yourself too. You need to feel your own emotions of wanting to help her and help her, him or her.
And I think that's a hard thing for empaths because the way I know it personally, it's like a latch.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of being webbed into it, and it's not always intentional that you're like, oh, I feel what that person feels. It's more like it's connected so well with you that you think of yourself almost as if you're them.
Yeah. Meditation's a really good method for getting to know yourself personally, and for detachment. Like you can really detach yourself from those feelings, so you can see them from a better perspective, as the perspective that you would see them, because you're not experiencing them.
Right.
So it's better that way to help people.
And I also want to talk about why it's so important to become a master of your emotions, because like I said, if you let the busyness, if you let the stress, if you let the anxiety take over your life, then you are no longer in control. And now you're playing victim and you're at effect of things. Instead of being at effect, be at cause. Be at cause of causing the tranquility in your life, the peace in your life, the relaxation in your life, the happiness in your life. Be at cause, causing that stuff, as opposed to being effective things. And that's why
I think that's brilliant.
Like I just want to really emphasize why it's so important to become a master. And then we're gonna go from the why to the what. What you can do to become an emotional master. And meditation is one way. And the definition of meditation, I always have to explain this to people, because everybody has their own kind of practices, like I was saying before. And meditation is focus. Focusing on one thing, having that discipline, having that commitment to becoming focused. And honestly, I feel like that's something everybody needs to get a hold of that focus, because like I said, that stress, that anxiety, it takes us off of that focus, right? Would you guys agree?
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure you guys could agree, and I'm hoping you guys could start getting curious and start wondering, why is it that our mind is like that, and how we can get a hold of it.
I think, to add on to what you're saying, our mind is personally like that, by the way, because of what we've been taught from generation to generation. It's not purposely our fault, but because we're taught the same thing over and over, it gets passed on to the next generation. The only way you can break that, just like where we're at, personally, I'm pretty sure if we all had children or anything, it won't be the same, because we've broken that cycle of how we see the world. And to add on to what you're saying, what he was just saying about mastery of your emotions, not only the fact that you'll have more control by being the cause, but you will have more enjoyment. We're talking in levels that you didn't think you'd enjoy. Even the pain you will see as enjoyment, because you will no longer see it as pain. When you see each emotion for what it truly is, you have to understand this is a stage show for you, in a sense. This is an experience of a lifetime. You are just here experiencing yourself within this world. We actually had a talk with someone yesterday, my friend Michael, that was on the show, and what we were discussing is earlier about wielding. he was telling me about the Matrix and everything else. And even being in the Matrix, yes, it's true. The Matrix will mess with your emotions. It will make you feel a certain way if you don't realize the illusions. But when you realize the illusions, it's not about, I gotta get out of the Matrix, I gotta get out and stuff. Use what you have. You have to understand, you're a magician. The only problem is you forgot all your tricks. Wield the Matrix to who you are as a person. The funny thing is, when we talk about even people higher up, the thing that we don't know that they know, in a sense, is they're just wielding the Matrix to their own ideals. If you can understand that, you can create something different out of what you consider the Matrix, instead of worrying about, I gotta get out of the Matrix because this is that and it's happening. But how can you implement it, change it, and use the illusions of what you know is in everyday life to create something, I wouldn't say better, but something that progresses your own growth, your own love, your own kindness, your own evolution.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And to add on to the whole thing that he was saying about cause and effect and everything, the reason why that's so important is because a lot of people play the blame game. They want to blame other people for the things that have happened to them. And the funny thing is, if you turn that around, and if you were to put yourself at cause, like, that was me, like, that was my fault, then that gives you the power to fix it. That gives you the power to do better next time. Like, you're going to tell yourself, okay, that was my fault. What can I do to change it? Or what can I do next time? When you put yourself at cause, you're in control. When you put someone when you put someone else at cause and you're the effect, they're in control.
And I'm glad you said that, because that is just like putting somebody else in control of your own emotions. Anytime you feel an emotion because of somebody else, because somebody did something to you, because they crossed you up on the freeway, or because your mom told you no because you couldn't go out, and if you surrender your power of controlling your own emotions to them, and you listen to those thoughts that are not your thoughts, that are the thoughts that they implement into your mind that trigger those emotions, then you're going to see yourself reacting instead of responding. You're going to be reacting to the way they want you to react because of what they said to you.
And that's the other thing, to add on to what he's saying. You have to learn how to stop reacting and actually observe. Stop reacting and start observing. When you are more observant, and many people, I hear this almost too often, they love to tell you that I observe the situation. If you truly observe a situation, you don't really react anymore. You look at it as what it is and start realizing, that's interesting, and try to observe it further to understand it. It's about understanding the certain situation or anything. Whether it be, like she was just saying, instead of being the cause of someone and playing the blame game, where it's like, it's your fault for this and that, observing it closely. All of us are not perfect, and even me personally, I'm still working on myself. But the one thing I do my best to do is to observe certain situations and be careful of certain things I say, because of the fact that I care so much for people, that I'm closely trying to watch that, is this the right thing to say at this point in time? Instead of just blurting it out. It's not the fact of being like, you should say what you feel and everything, but at the same time, even if you do say what you feel, what I've learned, and I still have to grow through it, is learning to be gentle with your words, more meek with what you say, what you feel, more kind with what you give to people. And when you are observing in that length, you work towards becoming that more so than saying, well, I don't like you for this and that and this and that, but asking the question as, like, why do you feel that way? What, why do you feel that you need to do that, and everything else in between? You're more understanding of the person, and not only understanding, you're more willing to understand them.
Right. And even, like, it's good to know why too. And what's even better is to know how somebody feels a certain way. For example, depression. It's a process. People have strategies for everything that they do. People have recipes for everything they do. A strategy is a recipe. Like, whenever somebody becomes depressed, it's because they got triggered by something, whatever it is, and that triggered either their visual, their auditory, or kinesthetic. Either a feeling, they heard something, or they saw something. and that sent a message to their brain, that sent a message to their body to feel the way they were feeling. And so asking somebody how, like, it could be the other way around too. Like, how do you become happy? How do you do that? And then you just model yourself after them. Whether it's a belief, of something they say to themselves, an image that they see, a way they change their body, their physiology, a music that they hear, something. There's always a strategy for everything, for making love, for cooking, for going to sleep. There's a strategy. There's strategies for everything, for the way you walk, the way you go to the gym, right?
There's a thousand ways to do 1,000 things, but the one thing I can tell you out of every 1,000 is what works for you. Most people like to follow the crowd. When they hear someone, for example, we probably hear this all the time. Someone says, "What if I taught you how to make $1,000 within a week?"
Right.
And then people go for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are many people who are like, "I don't believe this because I hear this all the time." But at the same end of the spectrum, there are many people who make money from that and many people who don't.
Right.
And many people who don't will say that, no, it doesn't work. And then the others will say it does work. It's not the fact that it does or doesn't work. It's the fact of, does it work for you or does it not work for you?
And well, yes, that's true. And what I would argue against that is, what has successful people done? What have their strategies been to get to where they're going? Whether it's, you want to learn meditation, how did somebody, how did an emotional master meditate, or what kind of meditation did they do that I could model myself after, and then refine it to fix it to be accommodated to myself? What recipe can I add to it? What ingredients can I add to it to really suit me and add more value to my life? And also planting those seeds in other people and letting them refine themselves as they go. And just something quick about meditation is, it's very important to have a teacher, because a lot of people always get discouraged whenever they start meditating, and because they think that their mind is wandering, because they think their thoughts are going, and they think they have a stigma on, or like the ideal way to meditate is to be silent and not listening to your thoughts. But in the beginning, it's training.
There's 1,000 ways to do it.
There is
training.
too.
It's, for me, like I said, there's 1,000 ways to do 1,000 things. And to add on to first what you were saying, what I was pretty much saying, I wasn't like disagreeing with what you were saying.
No.
Well, what I was saying is, just like that person who is trying to do that, it may not fit for them, but they might find someone who does close to the same thing, and that might work for them.
Yeah.
And the same thing with meditation in a sense. Me personally, it's about beingness. When you are being what you need to be, it becomes a lot easier for you to do the things you desire to do. When I was being my silence and being what I desired in meditation, it became easier for me to calm and quiet my mind. For other people, they may be like, I can't do that and this and that. Okay, well, the question is, and this is hard for people, I've heard this before, when a question, matter of fact, for people out there, I'm going to ask you this question right now. What are you being right now? For the people in Periscope, you can answer it on here. And if you can't answer on here, you can also answer it on social media. It will be on my page on Periscope. And for the people on YouTube, what are you being? Go ahead and answer that in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I feel like what are you being is what makes you really think, what am I being? Because I heard many people be like, well, I'm doing this and that. I'm like, no, I didn't ask you what you were doing. I asked you what you were being. And most people don't know how to answer that because they can't quite understand the question of how to go about that.
Yeah. And just to finish off with what we were talking about before, like trial and error. Like, do what works for you. Like, get out of your comfort zone, but also what is getting you results. Because if you're not getting results, then something needs to change. And also the beingness, like your intention behind everything. The intention that you set behind, like, what you desire to get out of whatever it is that you do. And so, for example, my intention here is to add as much value as I can into your guys' lives.
Hey, Dusty.
With whatever we can. And just adding that intention behind recording these videos, for example, why we are doing this is to
Salaam, Dusty.
is to plant seeds within your guys' brains, within your mind, so you could start taking action yourself, and so you could start spreading the word to other people in the world to get to start taking action and movement as well, right?
Right. And I definitely agree with both of you guys. Definitely, if there's something that you want to learn and you know someone who knows it, model yourself after them. What they're doing isn't a secret. It's not some kind of huge secret. All you have to do is model what they do. There's a certain strategy for how they achieve what they achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you to study that person and to really see what it is that they do that really gets them to the goal that you want, and just model yourself after that. But of course, trial and error is very, very important. Always stick with what works for you. If there's something that person does that doesn't exactly work for you at all, then you don't have to model yourself after that. But you also want to see if that one thing is going to get you results, because of course you do want to step out of your comfort zone, but not to the point where you're doing something that you're not okay with at all.
And I think that's the biggest issue with people. It's not the masters that are confused with what they're saying. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's the point.
and like in the going back to what she was saying, like in the NLP world, there's something called the physiology of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the physiology, how would you act, how would you sit, how would you stand, how would you talk, how would you breathe if you were happy right now? How would you sit if you were energized right now?
And to add on to what he's saying, this is literally what I state all the time of your beingness. How would you act?
Mm-hmm.
He's putting it in more words than probably I put it, but that's pretty much
and
simplicity.
And yeah, and just to put it into context, it's like that's the point of meditation and mindfulness, to become aware of what you're thinking at a certain moment, so that you don't react but respond.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever we react, that's not us talking. That's another.
I think that's us not remembering truly who we are. You have to understand, the name of the game in this world is for you to forget everything. Everything is working out as it is right now. For the people who are watching it, you're watching this because you want to remember, in a sense, of who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's not. What I've even learned is there's no such thing really as old souls or new souls, in a sense. It's who remembers more of who they are and who doesn't. We have a lot of memory of ourselves, in a sense. And because we remember so much of ourselves, it's easier personally for us to speak it to other people and give them that information because of who we are. Right. That doesn't mean, however, you can't do this as well. But again, to add on to the masters, most people, what they misunderstand about masters is following them. But it's not about following them, but following their example. Right. They're not there for you to be their followers and worship them or anything, but for you to understand that you can do exactly what I can do. But many of us don't believe, in the sense that, I can never do what so-and-so does and this and that, when many of them were on the planet, and we're talking about constantly and consistently telling you the same thing over again.
How has it not helped me? Honestly,
you want to go first, I'm guessing?
I guess, yeah. So meditation is like going. Alright, so now I'm gonna explain what mantra is. So
before we even get into that, do you want to answer his question?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna answer his question through explaining what mantra is. So mantra is man means mind, and tra means transfer, and so transferring my mind from a state of anxiety and stress and just depression or an unresourceful state to a resourceful state, transferring it from this side to this side through mantra, which is mind transferring meditation. And so that is what has helped me the most. And maybe it's just one way, another way. And so like sitting down, taking a deep breath in, and just saying,
You gotta understand too, though the mantras are different frequencies that vibrate off of who you are.
And that too. And so just doing that right now, like there was just this silence within me. All I heard was and that's that just like the omnipresent frequency. It also means amen, which is like blessedness or like holiness, and just transferring it from that state of stress or busyness or that reptilian brain to a more state of peace and tranquility. And meditation isn't going to take your problems away, okay? The point of meditation is to get you into a different state, to transfer your mind from this state of unresourcefulness to a state of action and creativity and joy and happiness, to get your different biochemicals moving. And this is science. This isn't fluff or what's it called? Yeah, it yeah, that rings so true. And that
And I'm
is,
gonna, once he's done,
mhm.
I'll tell you my story on that.
Yeah, and that is it's just another way. And it it's another way, and to get you into action, to get you into moving forward, other than, because whenever you're in stress or anxiety or depression or an unresourceful state, different biochemicals are being produced from those states. For example, cortisol is spiked up whenever you're stressed. That's the stress hormone. And that stress hormone, it attacks your immune system, therefore leaving your body open to diseases or different parasites or viruses. And and then once you do your mind transfer, once you do your mantra, it moves into a different state of peace or joy that gets you thinking a different way, that that
Okay.
can let you find solutions to what you're trying to find solutions
Is it
to.
okay if I go real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, before I answer your question about meditation, I'm gonna answer the question you have now, Dusty, which is everybody has negative thoughts, including us. The thing is, what I suggest to people is don't bash negative thoughts under the rug. What you seriously have to do is you have to release them. They have to be released, because you see, if you bottle them in, there people talk about, the New Agers, as they call them, and stuff like that. There was a lot I didn't know about the New Agers, and someone was discussing this with me, that no negative thoughts, no anger, anything of this. You, first of all, you need anger because it's healthy.
And you need fear.
Rage is not a healthy emotion, and for fear, the opposite of that is panic. That is not a healthy emotion. Fear and anger are healthy emotions, but to add on to what you're saying right there, for the negativity, if it's not, and I'm not going to tell you how to get rid of it, but to get rid of it. Whatever works for you to get rid of it. It could be writing a paper, it could be calling a friend, it could be exercising, it could be meditate. Don't complicate. Whatever it is that works for you will benefit you in a sense of getting rid of that negative energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me personally, you were talking about the omni frequency. Now, give or take, besides what he was talking about as mantras, certain hand positions, certain things you do, such as breathing exercises, play a key role in how you understand the world around you. Because for me personally, it was about the one thing I wanted to know about who I was, because you're all gods and goddesses. You're a combination of everybody, period. No matter what you say. The people you see here are just like you, Dusty, no matter what, because we're the same. What I wanted to experience was love, which is the highest form of who you are. And not only that, I wanted to experience it through everyone. And I've done that on countless occasions. And what you were talking about is the omnipresent frequency. You are actually omnipresent, but most people don't know that. I've had times where I've literally been somebody else while in this body and I didn't realize it. And I would wake up and I would be angry or I would be upset about something that had nothing to do with me in the first place. And I kept wondering, why am I angry? And I have no reason to be angry. Or why am I upset? Or why is this bothering me and this and that? And what I had to realize was, as time went on,
Oh, can I actually speak on that really quick?
yeah, go ahead.
What I wanted to say earlier, when you guys are talking about responding and reacting, and you saying that when we react, it's actually not, like you said, it's not us. It's like if we were somebody else or something, and that's true because it's not us. It's our ego. Our ego, when controlling your emotions, especially your ego, is not something that you want to rely on. It's very difficult because we all carry an ego, and it's not something that we can get rid of 100%. But what we want to do is suppress that ego, because our ego is the one that, when you're angry, reacts. Especially, like, you'll start yelling, or you raise your voice or something, or you say things that you don't mean. That is your ego.
And
Go ahead.
Your higher self. Go ahead.
Your higher self is what responds.
I.e., your unconscious mind.
Unconscious mind.
Well,
no,
there's a difference between controlling. Because here, let me put it this way for you. Would you rather someone else brainwash you, or would you rather brainwash yourself? And I believe I've said this before on here. I'm pretty sure, Dusty, you've heard me say that once before in here. I'd prefer to brainwash myself, because you have to understand this. You have control of who you are, but you have no control of everyone else in the outside world. So if that's the case, just like she was saying, instead of reacting, responding, or taking your own action upon that, that is up to you. You have control of your emotions, but due to the fact of where we're at, now, what you have to understand is, scientifically, bottling your emotions is not good. Let me give you a perfect example. We both probably know this. Virginia Tech. When I observed this person, what I realized, and you see this a lot for people, because there are estimates of people in college that they get highly stressed out. He had gotten stressed out to the point that he had done something that was more on the negative side of harming others around him without understanding. Not only, he didn't understand the self. And because he didn't know about that, he had no clue who he was harming in the point. He didn't know who he was. So, he was more stressed out because he had bottled his emotions. When you release them, and in my personal opinion, because I've done this, when you release your emotions and get rid of whatever you feel is upsetting, it can be healing. You could be upset about something that happened, and maybe, give or take, it could, like I said, it could be a friend you talk to who's used to that because they're at a higher level of who they are. It could be writing a poem. It could be reading a book. It could be yoga, meditation, exercise, going for a bike ride, whatever helps you to get rid of that emotion. Remember, whatever spews it out, because it's like a soda pop. To go on your analogy of bottling your emotions, now you can keep holding and shaking a soda pop, but it will tighten up.
There's many ways to let it out.
There's a time and a place too on how to let it out. There are many times where maybe you can't let it out there because it might not be the time, but if you feel you need to let out your anger, go somewhere and just yell it out until it's released. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
I want to give you a practical way to do it with any kind of negative emotion, and it will work, I promise you, and you're responsible for taking action and actually doing it. But just writing down whatever feels like a journal. I encourage you to really listen to me. Get a journal and write down whatever negative emotions you're feeling and put them down on paper, because you're going to see it consciously and you're going to realize how that's not really you. You know that you're not your conscious mind. That those are not your thoughts. That is a reaction of your environment or whatever it is that happened to you to feel that. Because your environment, we're all a creation of our environment. Whatever emotion we're feeling is because of our environment. Because there was a stimulus, and the reaction to it was the emotion that you felt and the internal representation that you got from it. And that's where and it's hard. It's hard.
Well,
and
let me add on to what you're saying, because I'm not saying what he's saying wrong. There's thousands of ways, and I think that's one good way.
I'm trying to give you a practical way to do it.
That's the practical way, but if you're in the moment, the heat of the moment, what I would suggest too is walk away for a bit. If you're that angry, go take some time. One of the things I do at times when I'm angry, I do two things. I start talking to myself until I can get rid of it, and I start yelling out loud so I can get rid of the anger, or I go for a walk for a long time until all my energy because I get really hot instantly, and I'm talking about my body overheats at times because of how angry I can get at times. When I get rid of it and I go for a walk, it cools me off. And sometimes in the heat of the moment, that is the best thing to do. You could be in the heat of the moment and that could be the case, but The other thing you can do on top of that, and this is something I suggest to people, is the hardest thing for most people to do, but just like what he's saying, you going for it to do it is very important. What I ask people is, what would hurt you so much that you would hurt me just to heal yourself? Really think about what I'm saying, because what I'm trying to tell you is, let's say you get into the heat of an argument with someone. And you may not want to really ask anything, and you're welcome, Dusty, by the way. But you may want to say that too, because it may give you a chance to halt an argument, to actually understand why they feel this way. And even if you don't agree with what they say, you need to be willing to say, I can understand how you feel that way, to carry on with the conversation at hand. Because most people won't do that. You've never seen someone in war. He wants to hear from you.
What's funny is that I was just about to say that I know you were curious about meditation, and with this topic that we were talking about now, a really great way to release emotions, not just anger, but any kind of emotion, is like if you if when you're doing a meditation and everything, if you really look at well, as you're meditating, look at the emotions that you were experiencing, try maybe even look at it from all kinds of perspective, and then at the end of your meditation, you put your hands out and you say, I release these emotions that no longer serve me. I release everything that no longer serves me. And I promise you that you'll feel like, it sounds a little bit like a little woo-woo, rah-rah kind of thing, but I promise you it'll do. Yeah, a little cheesy, but I promise you it will work, and it, if not 100%, then at least a little bit.
And that's why meditation is so important, because meditation gives you sensory acuity, and once you become aware of what you're feeling, you know what actions to take in order to distinguish and diffuse those emotions. And I mean, with my experience, whenever I get angry, I mean, I hardly get angry anymore, but and those emotions do arise. And there's a difference between healthy anger and unhealthy anger, like a healthy fear and unhealthy fear. For example, fear of driving off a cliff, that's going to save your life. But if you have the fear of going up to talking to some women, a woman that might be the love of your life, that could possibly hurt you.
No, you didn't hijack on the topic. Remember, we're here to converse with you guys. We want to hear your input about whatever questions you have on the pink elephant. And to add on to what he was saying, now, the word I use, because this is a true story, what he was just saying right now about being afraid is the unnatural emotion of panic. And when I was younger, I used to panic about a lot of things. When you panic, what you are doing, in essence, is you are using thoughts as emotions. You're letting your thoughts waltz around as your emotions. These thoughts of you have are not your emotions. You let them waltz around believing you're afraid, believing you're terrified of this happening or anything else, but you haven't really done or implemented anything. You haven't gone forth because you're letting your thoughts waltz around as though they're the real deal. No, absolutely. Let me be honest with you. I had a fear of talking to women because at the time I didn't think I was good enough for anyone. I didn't think I was handsome enough. I didn't think I was anyone special. But what I had to learn at times was just keep going. There are people. I'm gonna tell you a very honest story. The person who's the love of my life at this point in time, I never thought I would have a chance of her ever again. But something in my gut, and this is what I tell people, if anything, even if you're afraid of whatever's going on in your life, you got to understand your life is like a story. This is your story. And think and always say to yourself, this too shall pass. Because what do you have to lose at this point? If you talk to them and you say what you feel, and even if it doesn't go well, all you can say is this too will pass, because it will pass. Nothing's going to happen. This isn't going to be something that, until you're an old person, it's going to live on in your life. Go forth for whatever you desire, even if you're afraid to talk to women. Even if you don't know what to say or anything, just keep going forth, because this too shall pass until you realize you can talk to women.
And well, I want to acknowledge you just for asking questions, because that's good, because that means you're curious, and that means that you're hungry, okay? And the whole thing with women, honestly, there's so many factors to it, but your belief about yourself, your belief about yourself, if you are powerful, if you are courageous, if you are brave, if you are funny enough to convince this woman that you are funny, and just having that belief, telling yourself, I am brave, I am courageous, I am confident, and I love myself. Whenever women see that in you, they're gonna feel it. They're gonna feel that
Speaking
within
of
you.
which, what he just said the words for you. Be who you desire. If you desire to talk to women, like he said, I am courage, I am courageous, I am brave. Here, let me even put it and implement it further. We just told you about this earlier, actually. What are you being? If you're afraid to talk to women, then what may work for you, what I would suggest is being your courage, being your bravery, being your kindness, being the one who knows you can talk to women, and asking yourself the question, how would you act? How would you talk? How would you walk? How would you feel by talking to women, because you're being your courage, you're being more talkative to women? Ask yourself, like he said, get a journal. Ask yourself those questions about how you would feel about that, because that is personally a good question to ask and make you think about, how would I feel about that?
What would you tell them?
Women's perspective. I would say that be brave enough to talk to any girl that you would like to. If you see a girl that catches your eye, talk to her, because chances are that she'll respect you for talking to her, even if things don't go the way that you want them to. At least be thankful that you did talk to her, because at least you won't think that good thing that or like, what if I would have talked to her? Not just that, but if she decides to,
you wouldn't be guilty. You wouldn't feel guilty about it at the end of the day.
If she decides to be rude, then you know that that's not the girl for you, and now you know.
But because at least you went through with it, and you don't have to feel guilty at the end of the day. That, matter of fact, the one thing I can tell you, there are two enemies in your world, fear and guilt. Those are the only two enemies you have on this planet, is fear and guilt. Don't let any of those corrupt your mindset of wherever you want to go. Be fearless enough to do the things you love, and no matter what, express yourself without any guilt towards whatever you desire to do.
And another thing, just to add more value, is don't make it about yourself. Make them feel cared for, or at least just talk to them about themselves. People love talking about themselves. Ask them where they're from, what their name is, what's their birthday, what's their favorite color, have they seen any movies, what's their favorite food, anything like that. Just get to know them, and go with, like I said, the intention that you set behind it. Don't go with the intention, oh, you're beautiful, I want to get with you, or you're beautiful, I want to take you out on a date. Go with a genuine feeling of building up a friendship, because you can't go straight for I love you. You have to go out on a couple dates, get to know them, and then however it goes, however you feel it, you will know when it's right, as you continue to develop yourself, as you continue to be more and more curious about yourself and other people. And curiosity is key. Being curious about other people, but being as genuine and authentic as possible.
And to add on, I know you said this, but I've tested this out as an experiment just for fun, and this will help you. You talk about you're not very talkative. I did this when I was at Europe, and I was on a cruise with a few people. I would just come up to women, and I would tell them, "You look amazing in that dress. I just want you to know that," and I'd walk away. I wouldn't say anything else, and I would keep going about my business. I would go to someone else, and I would say, "You look amazing in what you're wearing," and I'd walk away. Eventually, after saying that so many times, there were some of the women who wanted to talk to me, like, "Well, tell me about yourself. What about your camera and stuff? You're wearing this and that." You sparked a conversation by just talking to women. By the time you keep doing that, you're going to be so used to it that eventually you'll just be easily able to talk to women without being afraid. I did that to, I believe, 5 to 6 women on the ship, and I had a few of them that talked to me. And what my mindset was thinking, I wasn't thinking about, oh, I'm going to get with someone tonight or anything. My only mindset was to express the God inside of me sees the goddess inside of you, that you are beautiful, and I just want you to know that for tonight. or for today or wherever you are out there, the more you express that to people, you're going to feel more better about your situation than you may believe, because you just gave someone else what you needed to give yourself. You needed to talk more and express more. No, they didn't. You have to understand, we're two sides of different coin. We're just two different people. It doesn't mean women are better and doesn't mean men are better. We're just two separate sides. Men are more about, well, it's give or take the man. In general, men are more about trying to be strong, protective. Women are more natural and kind in a sense. So in this world, yes, it's kind of like that. But however, you create what you want out of this world. Like we said earlier, you may be in the matrix, but you willed the matrix to your own beingness. You are the magician. It's up to you on how you want to play the show.
The art of living. How did we discover it? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Mine might, I don't know about yours, because you guys know about mine. Mine was more tragic in a sense because I had actually lost my sister before I realized many of the things I didn't know. And because of that, as I grew on, someone had simply gave me a question to ask myself. What if everything you think is right? What if everything you think is wrong is actually right? And I didn't believe him for a long time. And one of the things they mentioned was that you go to this job and everything else doing what you want to do. And then when you don't get to where you want to go, you get upset because you followed all the rules. And why didn't I get to where I desired to go? And it's up to you to play the game of the world any way you desire. And that was something I had to learn. I was working to live instead of live. I was living to work instead of working to live for myself. Instead of being who I truly am as a person. I was not taking chances to really get to know myself, taking risk. When I was working with these guys, I literally, when I left one of my jobs, I had taken a risk that could have flip-flopped. However, all I knew is, in the back of my mind, and even just completely in my mind, is I'm not going back. No matter what happens from here, I'm going to keep going forward, and I'm never going to look back. Because I know I'm going to get to where I desire to go. When you are being more of that, and going forth with that, you will live. And again, like I said, be what you desire. If you want to know the art of living, be that which is the art of living. What would you be like if you were living life to the fullest? What risk would you take if you were enjoying your life? What things would you say to women if you were being fully what you desire to live? Which one do you two?
The way I started, I guess you could say, going all the way back, was when I was in high school. I was a dancer, and I was the dancer with performance anxiety, which does not work out at all. Let me tell you. Like, I had to dance in front of my class almost every single day. I had to dance in front of 350 people each night for 5 days in a row. So I was a mess for the first 2.5 years that I was dancing in high school. I was a complete mess, and I every time I auditioned for dances for the shows, because I wanted to be seen. I wanted people to see me dance, and I wanted to show off what I could do, but I couldn't, because every time I would audition for anything, no matter how well I knew the dance, I couldn't do it. I would always mess up, and my teacher was very hard on me because I always messed up my timing. And the end of my junior year, once all my performances were over and everything, I had a friend tell me about like meditation and how it's kind of helped her with her anxiety. So I started trying it, and then towards like showtime of my senior year, I was able to be in 6 dances, when before I was only like in about 2 or 3 at most before that. And then by the end of it, I was able to be in 6 dances, and I made every dance that I auditioned for, because of meditation. Like, it got me to what he was saying, to this point of anxiety to being tranquil and everything. And from there, I just continued meditating. I kept up with it. I would meditate at least once a week, which was not enough the way I used to I used to think it was enough.
At
but
the
it wasn't
time,
enough.
it was enough.
Yeah, at the time it was enough. But after I graduated, I met him, and he taught me a little bit more about meditation and things like that. And and since then, we've learned a lot more together from seminars and just people that we have met. Like it's funny that when you start when you start seeking these things, you find them. So once you start seeking the knowledge and start seeking better ways to improve not only yourself, but to contribute to the people around you and the people that you will ever come to meet. The knowledge will come your way.
Yeah, honestly, and the way the paintbrush fell in my hands was curiosity. Honestly, just being curious, and I didn't want to live the way I was living anymore. Like, just getting angry or being stressed. Like the one thing was stress. I didn't want to be stressed anymore. I didn't want to have worries anymore. And my worries, and they're not gone either. Like, I still get stressed. The only difference now is I don't stay there. I am able to transfer from here to here. And honestly, reading books, like, my goal was, I love psychology. We're both life coaches and NLP practitioners, neuro linguistics programming. And my key was, honestly, to learn psychology, was to be able to manipulate people, be able to control their minds. I was curious about that, and how just people worked, why they did what they did, how they did it, why they feel the way they feel, and just being curious. And my sister gave me a book called The Social Animal, and I learned so much from that book, from that one book. And then that year I read 25 books, and I've read 50 books now since then. And my mind is just like expanded so much more because of that curiosity, because of that commitment of wanting to learn more, as opposed to I've learned more than my freaking years of high school from reading books. Another key thing is a mentor, having a teacher with you to guide you on the way. But honestly, curiosity, getting that paintbrush of curiosity, and painting my own life, which is my picture, being the artist of my own life, and meditation is one of those resources as well.
What we adopt to, I don't know about them, in a sense, it depends on the person personally, but for me, it is, I'm more of a man of spirituality and science. That is who I am. I don't really adopt to religion. I see it for what it is, but I'm more of who I am as a person. Even he says it to me at times. His religion is love.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about just being who you are. Now, it doesn't mean that religion is bad. If you want to take religion, like we said, if it works for you, it works for you. But for many others, they don't understand it because of the limitations, or we're not going to say there's falsehood in it, but many of what you listen to in today's society is incomplete to understanding who you are in many books and many parts of religion. And going further, because that's what happened to me. I kept reading more and going further, and that's how I grew who I was as a person.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear too that meditation didn't originate from Buddhism. It's actually, I know for sure it's in Christianity. It talks about meditating on the word.
It's even
in Hinduism as well. That's
in
actually
Muslim.
That might be the origin of it. But it's also in Buddhism too, in Buddhism. But it's just the word. In the Bible, it talks about first there was the word, and then there was the flesh. Mm-hmm. And I just read this too in Deepak Chopra's book, Quantum Healing too. Like, our thoughts, our words create literally the essence of our body, the essence of what it is that we feel within our body. Everything, like our thoughts and our words. First there was a word, and then there was the flesh. First there was your thought, first there was the quantum event, and then there was the reality, which is your body. Yeah, I know you want to say something.
Of course, yes. Like we said, love is our religion and everything. We do often go to a Christian chapel, but we do mainly believe like love is our religion, and we don't discriminate against any other religions, and we we take what we believe in from other religions. I feel like anyone can really believe in whatever they want to believe in. They don't necessarily have to identify themselves, but that's just
I
me.
feel that should work because
That's just me though. If you want to identify yourself as one thing, that's totally okay. No one should ever
have to force you.
Yeah, have to force you or even question you so deeply of what it is that you believe in.
Yeah, and I don't think it's even I don't want to, like, go ahead and do whatever your heart desires, but the religion honestly doesn't matter. What matters is the results that you get from whatever it is that you're doing.
The way what you believe it makes you feel.
And you got to remember, everybody has their string cut from a different thread.
Right.
It all depends on you. Personally, I was raised a lot of the time when I was younger in the church. So when I had realized a few things, because there was a lot of things in my life I could never understand, why can't I make this happen? And when I had released that for me personally, I had gotten further. Now for someone else that might be different. It all depends on the person and it depends on you. And I'm sorry for cutting you off, but we're actually going to be ending right here. So, do you guys want to put final words?
I just want to give my last word is, honestly, Jesus. He was one of, if not one of the greatest masters, but the greatest master to live because of the words that he had and how many people modeled themselves out of him and what he taught, what he said. He only spoke in parables, and that was to make his message clear and on a chunked up, ambiguous level so that every single person could relate.
I think the funny thing is most people don't realize that Christ has actually been reincarnated here twice. As Jesus Christ and as Joseph, John Smith, I mean. The one where people for the Book of Mormon and everything. He's been here, he's been in Jerusalem, and he's been here in America. So, one of the greatest masters, one of the highest masters on the planet.
Everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Has done much more than people could imagine and most of us haven't seen it in that sense because we thought we needed to follow them instead of being the example. Because just like he said, Christ did say, "This and more you shall do too." So, you are capable of these things.
And we all have the power of Christ, by the way.
Anything for you before we close?
You're welcome. Thank you for your questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the only thing I have left to say is thank you for the questions and also just stay true to yourself. Really learn about yourself. I would say the greatest piece of advice that I can give anyone that I barely know would be know yourself before you even begin to try to know others or fully understand others, because people always try to understand each other and they can't because they also don't even understand themselves.
Absolutely. And just for you guys to know always, remember, you are amazing. You are beautiful. You are divine. You are the gods, the goddesses, and the creators within. You need to remember that to know thyself is to know the creator within, who you are. And just simply, and thank you again to everybody out there. Have a good morning, have a great afternoon, and a fantastic evening.
I just want to, if you want to continue to stay in contact with us too, you can find us on Instagram on Cabrera Coaching, and then you're more than welcome to continue to talk to him.
You can talk to me if you want to personally talk to me, Dusty. Just so you know, you can talk to me. Follow me on I am Soulology on Instagram or Twitter, and you can talk to me personally on there. I'll be happy to talk to you on there anytime you want to, personally. And if you want to follow me on YouTube as well, on Soulology, you can talk to me on there because I'm happy to answer anybody's questions, period. So, but we'll see you guys later, and please have a wonderful day.
Peace.
Namaste.
Mm-hmm.